The Genesis Communications Radio Network proudly presents The Alex Jones Show, because there's a war on for your mind.
Well, the 8th anniversary of the tragic staged terror attacks of 9/11 is approaching. The 8th anniversary, I would just remind people that we were called conspiracy theorists just 3 years ago for saying the Gulf of Tonkin was staged. It's now declassified that those were staged attacks on our ships to blame it on the Vietnamese to start the Vietnam War that killed over 1.5 million Vietnamese and over 58,000 Americans, injuring over 200,000 Americans. I just want to point out Operation Ajax, staged terror attacks that were blamed on the government of Iran, is declassified at the CIA's own history section. I just want to point out that it's now been declassified by the NSA that the USS Liberty attack was staged to be blamed on Egypt. That came out years after many people exposed it. Long before I was on the scene, it was exposed, 20-something, 30 years ago. Well, that happened in 1967, but it was exposed from day one. That's now come out. Operation Northwoods has been declassified. The U.S. government planned to bomb U.S. cities and crash jets and blame it on foreign enemies. That's been declassified. And Army Field Manual from 2004 has been declassified, where it talks about how to stage false flag terror attacks. It's come out that 6 of the 10 9/11 Commission members even told the Washington Post that the 9/11 Commission was a fraud and a lie and a cover-up and needed to be criminally investigated. It's even been in the news, but never gets any traction, never becomes a big issue. We can't just sit here idly by and let all this continue. So my point is, you're crazy to not know about the history of government-sponsored terror. You're crazy to not know about all the cases out there where Hitler firebombed his own Reichstag in 1933, February 27th, to get police state going in Germany. Or how Stalin staged terror attacks. Or how the Tsarists, one of their favorite tactics was to stage terror attacks and blame it on their enemies. Or how British intelligence has now been declassified and caught staging many of the IRA bombings. Some were real. Or Haaretz and Jerusalem Post admit that, quote, Israel headline created fake al-Qaeda groups. Every time there was about to be a peace deal, there is, of course, real terrorism in Israel going on, and it's terrible. But the point is, Israeli papers admit the government's been caught staging it at key points. That's what we're talking about here. And then you look at the science. The establishment likes to do these hit pieces on the science because they know the general public aren't architects or engineers or physicists or underwriting laboratories people like Kevin Ryan. They can shoot a missile into a chicken coop and say it would have blown the Pentagon up. They can show you a 3-story building and say, if we would have blown it up, we would have found det cord. I mean, they can do so many little things, little gimmicks, or say we're crazy and just want to believe this, when the history that we have is a continual chain of staged terror attacks. Now, on the Charlie Sheen issue, and we're going to Richard Gage, this is less than 24 hours after the media picked this up. They picked it up first in the afternoon yesterday. At about 4 o'clock, we saw the first mainstream news stories. Now, 20 hours into this, or 21 hours into this, Fox News, Charlie Sheen seeks meeting with Obama to discuss 9/11 cover-up. Look at this story out of E! Entertainment, front page. Charlie Sheen, the truther, teaches Obama about 9/11. U.S. News and World Report, Charlie Sheen joins the truther 9/11 conspiracy theory fringe. Attack piece. L.A. Times. Top of the ticket section, top political news. Breaking, Charlie Sheen demands Obama meeting on 9/11 cover-up. Here's another one. Charlie Sheen, fantasy 9/11 truther, grilling of the president. Gawker. I mean, it just goes on and on. President Obama, Charlie Sheen, Van Jones, the 9/11 truth movement. This is out of Associated Content. And it goes on and on. Here's one. I mean, there's just so many of these. The Houston Chronicle. There's just too many to cover them all. Very, very exciting. That's why Charlie wrote the letter about a meeting with the president, so that it would become a big issue of him wanting to actually meet with the president. That's what he talked about earlier when he was live on the show, in the tape interview we just aired. That's the whole point of what we're doing. Okay? Is to get people to look at those 20 points in the 20 questions of the president. And it was all Charlie's idea. Every bit of it was done exactly the way he wanted. And it was a genius idea, even a brilliant idea. Even people criticizing him and don't agree with 9/11 Truth are saying it was very well written. So it's very exciting. Let's go to Richard Gage. Richard, appreciate you coming on. first off, the Charlie Sheen situation, what's your take on it?
Well, we need people in the entertainment world and Hollywood talking about 9/11 truth. And Charlie began this, 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Three and a half, yeah.
3.5. He took so much heat for this that he had to back off until there was more support at a grassroots level. And we've got that now. And we've got 830 architects and engineers backing him up, saying, yes, these buildings came down by explosive controlled demolition. So with all of this support, and others, of course, across the 9/11 Truth movement supporting him, he can come out and make a splash now. And maybe it's time, Alex, and you've really supported him and given him a vehicle for this expression of coming out of the closet again and building truth. This is what has to happen. And it has to happen with Willie Nelson and Jesse Ventura and others who have kind of squeaked a little bit here and there. But now it's time, isn't it?
Well, it certainly is, my friend. So much is going on. So much is happening right now. Let's get into... There's several new hit pieces for Discovery Channel and History Channel and A&E that are being made. PBS is making another hit piece. The British have made 6 in the last year and a half that I know of. Just absolutely ridiculous. All of that is going on and happening. And then at the same time, we have this latest big budget. And I was reading it was funded by Dubai, or a foreign country, with this really shoddy hour-long special that spends a half of it on our psychology. And they played all sorts of little tricks with the camera, all sorts of things they did. The way they always made it your opinion. We talked Sunday, but I want you to recap and expand on that. How you gave them all the evidence, all the facts, and they would never allow that to be shown in the show. I mean, really outrageous, but I think it's backfiring on them. And it was made by a famous production house that specializes just in hit pieces and, quote, debunking conspiracy theorists. I mean, they do piece after piece. Creative Differences, who I've refused to be interviewed by in a JFK piece and 9/11. So break it down for us as an architect, as an engineer who's built major structures, who has 800 architects and engineers and thousands of other students who are becoming engineers and architects on your team, but 800 plus. And break it down as the founder of Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth.
Well, we've been speaking all across the country now for three years. We've had over 110 presentations to thousands and thousands of people. We've toured Europe with 9 cities in Europe, and next month we're going to Japan, Australia, and New Zealand, or November. And the key senator, Senator Yukihisa Fujita, whose party just won. Took over their government, basically. It was a minority party. This party is transforming Japan right now. It's kind of like the revolution we had, not revolution, the change we had from the Democrats to the Republicans. Republicans and Democrats. So he's bringing us to Tokyo and Kyoto. He'll introduce us. I mean, this is a huge opportunity for the 9/11 Truth movement, because he himself has been traveling around the world talking about 9/11 Truth. And so we're very excited to speak in 14 different cities altogether in Japan, Australia, and
let me just throw a caveat in. As of a year ago, when he first went public, and we interviewed him here as well, and he's since traveled to New York and other major cities of the world, he was the number 3 person in his party in the Diet. Now his party, after decades and decades out of power, is now in power. And as you said, the president of his party is now the president of the country. So we need to go look at the power structure. But I believe he's number 2 now in the Japanese government, is a 9/11 truther who shows clips and clips of your films and clips of Professor Stephen Jones repeatedly in the Diet, in their Congress. I mean, this is all over Japanese TV. They came and interviewed me many times. But, I mean, this is incredible.
I'm excited about it, too. And we get to go there and be right in the middle of it and learn a whole lot more about it. In fact, they're booking the Diet itself, the governmental body, the building. We're going to be speaking there. That's the plan at this point. Not to their government, but having the public come to that place. So
unbelievable. So that'd be like having a huge 9/11 truth investigation in the House or in the Senate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's pretty exciting. So we'll try to put something very special together for that. Last night, I had the opportunity to speak to a packed house of 200 at the Commonwealth Club of California. We webcast this live. We had 435 people listening live also from home on their computers, and I had 40 minutes to present all of the evidence, which, by the way, I had very carefully laid out before Robert Erickson of Creative Differences, who was the producer for this National Geographic entertainment piece, we call it, that many people have had the opportunity to see.